All right, so now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, you guys are probably wondering, Mo, you love the bike on the downhill. It does really good. It's a very efficient climber. What do you think about the bike? What's your honest thoughts? Are you gonna be keeping this thing for a while? And yeah, do you see yourself on this bike long term? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome back to the new channel, because by now we should have made the commitment to start a separate bike review channel. Yeah, essentially our other channels turned a little bit more into an adventure and travel channel. We've been going on a lot of adventures, some cool rides to some epic places, and we have a lot planned for that channel, but we get a lot of messages about people asking for bike suggestions or want some bike reviews or bike feedback, so that's where this channel is going to come along. I think we only have a couple of subscribers right now, so if you guys could subscribe to the channel, just press that subscribe button, it would definitely give us a lot more motivation to crank out a bunch more reviews soon. So with that being said, a lot of people have asked for my feedback on the Ibis Ripmo. I built this bike up a few months ago, and I never really followed up with a review, and I still get a ton of messages asking, is this my favorite bike in the lineup? Do I prefer it over the Ripley? What's my thoughts on it? And there's actually some things that I love about this bike, and there's also some things that I'm not entirely stoked on, to where I feel like I might be building up a Ripley soon. And I'm gonna go over all of those thoughts and just give you guys my full unfiltered opinion on the Ibis Ripmo. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this part. Now, before we get into the video, I just wanna give a huge shout out to Sean at N+1 Bikes. That's the shirt I'm wearing. Yeah, he's the bike shop there I'm actually in right now in Louisville, Kentucky. With that being said, he's also getting some Ripmos in this week, so this video is perfect timing. So if you're in the market for anything bike related, be sure to give him a call. This is his phone number, and he always takes care of friends of the channel, so be sure to let him know that we sent you. And if you guys want any cool deals or coupons, we have coupons to like Pit Viper or Club Ride. If you go into the description of this video, we have links to coupons there. Any purchases made through any of those links, and also anything I talk about today, we'll put it in that description. But yeah, any purchases through those links directly help support the channel. So we can't thank you guys enough for helping us out with that. Now, if you guys have been following our other channel, you'll know that we do ride for Ibis Cycles, and we've had a chance to essentially ride their entire lineup. So a little bit about the Ibis Ripmo V2, because that's what this is. It's the second version. The original version was a huge hit. Some people still actually have that version because it actually is quite different than the V2. The version 1 is a tad less slack, so it's a little on the steeper side head angle wise, and it also felt like it had a little bit more pop from the suspension design, so a little bit more of a playful style bike. And with the V2, that's when they slackened the head angle a little bit, and they made that rear shock a little bit more progressive, so the bike felt almost like it rode more like it has a coil shock, but it still retained that poppiness that Ibis bikes are known for, but you just got a little bit more stability from that. So yeah, I had the V1 for a while, and then I had the Ripmo AF, which is the aluminum offering of this, and then they released this thing. And if you guys followed us last year, you'll know that last year I essentially rode the Ripley pretty much the entire year, and the Ripley is a 120 millimeter 29er, so more in the trail category, and a lot of people were shocked that I didn't go straight to this after the Ripmo AF, and I actually had a lot of fun on the Ripley, and it ended up becoming my favorite bike I had ever owned, and I'll tell you a little bit later if that stays true right now. But yeah, so in terms of the overall build, I think we should start off with the build. So I have mine set up with the DVO Onyx fork, so we actually ride for DVO suspension, and man, that company is so freaking awesome. I know that we're biased, but at the end of the day, any of you guys can give DVO a call and talk to them, ask them what's going on with your suspension's feeling funky. If you're ever in the area, you can actually schedule service, so you can go directly to their headquarters, drop off your fork with some notice, obviously a couple days in it. So yeah, I'm rocking the DVO Onyx up front. That is their beefier offering. On the Ripley, I was actually running the Sapphire. That's their more cross-country offering, and they have one in the middle that I've run on the Ripmo AF, and that was the Diamond. That's their more trail offering. The Onyx has been amazing, bulletproof, and at the same time too, I literally never have to think, it feels like, in rock gardens. Yeah, there's so much stiffness coming from the front end, and yeah, that thing's been amazing. I have it set up at 160 millimeters of travel. Now in the rear, I'm running the DVO Topaz. That's their air shock. A lot of people are a little bit surprised. They thought I would go with the Jade X. That is their coil offering. I'm a personal big believer in air shocks. I just feel like you get a little bit more tunability, and I like to climb. I feel like climbing just lowers the overall weight of the bike, and at the same time, I just feel like, I don't know, I get a little bit more of an all-around feel from a bike from an air shock. With that being said, if you're a more downhill person, the Jade X is an amazing coil to go with. And if you guys ever needed anything from DVO, just let them know that we sent you, and they also take care of awesome MTB viewers. For the drivetrain, I'm a huge believer in electronic drivetrain, and it's also become a little bit more affordable. I unfortunately missed the mark when it came to the affordableness, so I have the X01 AXS. Man, I am in love with that drivetrain. I just feel like it's been so reliable, never had any issues. The battery time lasts a long time, and yeah, overall really enjoyed the SRAM AXS drivetrain. And yeah, I feel like when you go electronic, it's really tough to go back. So maybe Shimano will hopefully step up to the plate soon, but for now, the SRAM drivetrain, in my opinion, is probably one of the better drivetrains on the market. I'm running that big 52 cassette too, and I really do appreciate that on the climbs, especially because this bike has a little bit of a weight penalty compared to my previous Ripley. So yeah, going with the 52 as opposed to the 50, I feel like has benefited me on this. Now, sticking with the SRAM part, I actually went with SRAM code brakes on this, and I'm not sure if I've released the code brake video, but I actually love these brakes. And I know that's pretty mind-blowing because the first couple of weeks I hated it. If any of my friends talk to me the first couple of weeks, they'll know I was getting ready to rip these off of the bike. It took me a while to get used to them, and I had to kind of change where I had my lever, because I had it set to where I would ride with Shimano brakes, the lever placement. And yeah, it's just something with these SRAM brakes, the stopping power doesn't come in as at the same point as Shimano brakes, so I had to just kind of readjust to that. But with that being said, after a few weeks of riding it, and now it's been a few months, I don't think I can switch from the code brake. Shimano Ice Tech, 203 rotors up front and 180 in the rear. That's kind of my go-to combo with rotors. Really do like the Ice Tech rotors from Shimano, and at this point, I think that's the last component that I prefer on Shimano, so it says a lot. Now for the dropper post and the cockpit area, so we do ride for P&W Components, a really awesome company out of the Pacific Northwest. I have the Loam dropper, that's the new one. It's a little bit shorter overall, but I still have it in the 200 mils that I like. Overall, no issues with this post, love it. It's connected to the Loam lever, which if you've never tried the Loam lever, it is the most comfortable dropper post lever on the market. And yeah, I have the Loam grips on the handlebars to keep my hands to the bars. And I run no gloves, so having a grip that works well gloveless is important to me, and the P&W Loam grips, I feel like have fulfilled that need. For the handlebar, I'm running One-Up Components carbon 35 mil riser bars. They have a little bit of flex built into them, and I have really enjoyed these bars. They've kind of followed me from bike to bike, and yeah, I just feel like the sweep is perfect for my wrist. I don't get any wrist pain, and yeah, I run them at 800 mils width. So I run them wide. I know some people can't run them that wide, but I feel like that's the smallest I can go. Now for the stem, I have Industry 9's A35 stem, purely for bling reasons. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, that's made in the USA is really important to me, and I really do like that anodized green on there. They have a ton of colors to choose from, and you can also customize the faceplate. And then for the hubs, I guess it's kind of going into the wheels. So I'm also running Industry 9 Hydra hubs. I can't stop using these hubs. There's 120 points of engagement in the rear, and that is drastically noticeable on the trails, especially if you have any techie climbs or little techie maneuvers. I feel like those have come in clutch. I have those laced to Ibis's Carbon S35 rims, and those have been bulletproof. I've been running those the entire season, not a single issues, and I have used and abused them. And also I can't forget the saddle. So I am running a woman's saddle. All of my friends like to give me a little bit of credit for that, but yeah, that Specialized Mimic power saddle, that thing is insane, and I can't recommend it enough to people. I actually will run it exclusively on all of my mountain bikes, and yeah, that thing is awesome. So now let's talk about the review of the bike. So I guess let's just break down climbing and descending, and then I can go into like my final thoughts and yeah, if I'm gonna be sticking with this bike long term. But in terms of climbing, this thing definitely is impressive. So Ibis bikes are known to be very good climbers. This thing is no different. Get out there, out of the saddle, in the saddle, this thing feels very efficient. Now, with that being said, if I'm gonna directly compare this bike to the Ripley just feels like it has a little bit more oomph. And I don't think that's a professional term, but I'm gonna use it here. I just feel like it tends to feel like it can accelerate uphill a little bit quicker than the Ripmo. So there have been times when I have missed that feeling. With that being said, as long as I'm just kind of not really thinking about how the Ripley climbs times and comparing the two, this thing still is fairly quick uphill. Where I feel like it actually has an advantage over the Ripley when it comes to climbing is actual technical climbs. I felt like when I was seated on this, I just had a little bit more traction over the Ripley on technical climb. So I felt like I could make more techie style moves on this a little bit better than the Ripley. So yeah, that is something to kind of keep in mind there. But yeah, Ripley feels like it has a little bit more acceleration. Ripmo, still very efficient, just not as efficient, I feel like, as the Ripley, but a very good climber. So now let's go into the part that everyone is probably waiting for, and that is the downhill. Now, descending on the Ripmo is insane. This thing, it's just the perfect combination of playful but stable. I feel like in and out of corners, you just feel like you want to jump out. If you see a rock garden coming up, you just want to jump into the rock garden, and yeah, you just want to have a ton of fun on this thing. It always has a smile on your face, and it's just the perfect combination of being poppy in and out of corners, but at the same time stable at high speeds. And never once did this bike hold me back. If anything, it made me search for more challenging terrain to get the full capabilities of this bike out of the downhill. And I felt like having that Onyx fork up front was really, it kind of changed my style of riding. So whereas before I would definitely, you could find more cross-country trails with the Ripley, and you could still have a ton of fun on there. This thing, it really does shine with the setup, the beefier fork and the Ripmo chassis. It shines when you find more trails to really take advantage of the travel, the stiffness, and the overall plushness this bike provides. So I definitely found myself searching for more challenging trails, and those code brakes provide an insane amount of stopping power. So the steeper the trail, the more comfortable I felt. And yeah, there was never a moment where I felt like I was undergunned on this. And if anything, it definitely made me feel like a better rider. All right, so now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, you guys are probably wondering, Mo, you love the bike on the downhill. It does really good. It's a very efficient climber. What do you think about the bike? What's your honest thoughts? Are you gonna be keeping this thing for a while? And yeah, do you see yourself on this bike long term? So if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I feel like there's gonna be a couple of things that factor into my decision. Number one, the type of rider I am. So I'm the type of rider who I actually prioritize climbing. I love efficiency. I love going for all day exploring rides. And also last summer was a little bit of an eye-opener for me, because like I said, I was on the Ripley for a majority of last year, and I took it on a wide variety of trails. Some trails that I'm actually excited to revisit this year on the Ripmo, so like Downeyville and Washington, and a lot of trails out there. I feel like when the Ripmo meets those all mountain trails, I'm just gonna have a little bit more fun overall, especially when the going gets rough. And that's why I am really excited to ride this bike when we go back to the West Coast in a few weeks. I'm not gonna tell you guys when exactly, because I don't want to ruin some of the surprises, but I feel like, yeah, when this bike really shines is when the going gets rough. Now, with that being said, in terms of having that one bike quiver, or what I personally see myself on long term, I'm actually gonna go ahead and say that I think personally I prefer the Ripley over the Ripmo. And I know it's gonna shock a lot of riders out there. For that rider that wants that one bike quiver that's gonna do insanely good on the downhills, that's definitely where they wanna have the most fun. You want something that's still gonna be efficient to get you to the top of the hill, but like I said, you want the biggest smile you can, and you wanna be also as safe as you can on the trails. I feel like the Ripmo is a really good bet. But like I said, for me personally, I'm the type of person who I really do like to ride once, at least once, if not twice a day. I like to go on a wide variety of trails. So for instance, this US road trip, I feel like a lot of stuff here on the East Coast, or like when we were in Florida, I think Florida is still considered East Coast. But yeah, I felt like a lot of stuff down there, the Ripley actually would have been amazing. It had just enough travel to kind of keep everything interesting, from more cross-country style trails to obviously more black diamond style trails. And yeah, I just felt like it was a little bit more well suited for 95% of the trails in Florida. And yeah, I just feel like that the Ripley is that one bike quiver for that rider that They prioritize climbing. They're okay with maybe holding back a little bit on certain styles of downhill or certain sections, and maybe skipping certain trails if they think, man, I really don't want to take this thing into this double black inside this bike park. I feel like the Ripley will definitely kind of meet its limits there. But yeah, that's the type of rider I am. I'm getting older, even though I'm not that old just yet. And yeah, I just feel like I really do enjoy pedaling all day, and that's why I think personally I do prefer the Ripley. Say you just want to go out there, get on the trails and just let it rip, or have a little bit more confidence to try new features. You want to work on jumping or work on drops, and you want a little bit of added confidence there. That's where the Ripmo is going to come into play, and I feel like this is definitely going to have the edge over that Ripley. So at the end of the day, it really is going to come down to what type of rider you are. For me personally, I think I prefer the Ripley, but I'm having a ton of fun on the Ripmo. For most riders I know, I feel like they prefer the Ripmo, but would still have fun on the Ripley. Obviously, at the end of the day, it does come to personal preference and also how you set up your bike as well. With that being said, what do you guys think? Ripmo or Ripley or something else? Let me know in the comment section, and until next time, you guys, ride awesome. Woo.